Welcome. Okay, how many are on one beer? 2 beers? Three? You guys, seriously, honestly, you can do better. Um, okay, my name is Micah Krichinsky, founder, brewer at Strangebird in Rochester. Um, Also, I'm on the board of the New York State Brewers Association. I'm here to introduce Amanda. Amanda Richardson entered the brewing industry by way of Full Steam Brewery in Durham, North Carolina, rising to lead brewer and sustainability coordinator. Amanda moved to New York with her family in 2018 and worked outside of beer for a couple years, but it all changed when she went to prison, City Brewing Company. So dedicated to the cause, Amanda drove an hour each way to prison, City Brewing. Strangebird freed Amanda from prison. The commute from Prison City, Strangebird freed Amanda from the commute from Prison City last year. It has been a pleasure working with Amanda. She's organized and detail-oriented with a mind toward efficiency. Efficiency goes hand in hand with sustainability. Many times taking steps towards sustainability can make your brewery more efficient. Please join me in welcoming Amanda Richardson. I love Prison City.
Thank you, Micah, and thanks you all for being here at the penultimate session here. So my presentation is titled How to Choose and Market Your Next Sustainable Steps. I'd like to say a better title would be like a conversation in sustainability. I really think that the main message I want to get across is that we can all become more sustainable by being more community oriented within this community of brewers. That there are a lot of breweries that are facing specific challenges and confronting them and could be great resources. So in that vein, I'm going to hand around a sign-up sheet. I'm going to start an email list if you have something where you're like, want to coordinate on pack tag or just have a question or need to start side streaming and we're like, oh, I heard Prison City started side streaming. How did they go about that process? What resources did they use that you have somewhere to kind of send that question out to other people who are interested in sustainability in the brewing sector. So just as I talk, if you're interested, if you could just put your name in your brewery or company and your email, I will be starting that. All right, so today I'm going to start by talking about what I call the sustainability conundrum, and then, as I just alluded to, kind of how I think we approach that conundrum. And then I'm going to do a few polls. I've never done a poll on Canvas, so hopefully it works, but we can just do a show of hands too, because I know there's a full range of folks in here who maybe are already doing a lot of sustainable things, or like, how do I start? So I want to know who's in the room and how we can help everybody on that full spectrum. I'm then going to do an industry performance review, so look at some of the top things that I think anecdotally and from data that I look at over the past decade that I've been in this industry. Things I think we do well and things that we could improve upon. For things that I think we do well, if you're like, ooh, I don't do that, that's a place you could start, because there are a lot of people in the industry who are doing it well, and you can reach out to this email group and be like, hey, I heard y'all are doing this. How are you doing it? How is it working? What are the ways that I can start doing it? And then lastly, kind of looking at the marketing part of it, and increasing community, both, as I said, in the brewing community and in with the people who are drinking your beer to decrease waste and become more efficient. All right, so the predicament or the conundrum that we're all very aware of is that the brewing industry uses a lot of resources. It uses agricultural products, which have their own footprint to begin with. We're using a lot of water, which we're lucky in New York State to have that not be as big of a problem in terms of availability. But you're still using a ton of water obviously in the product, and then to CIP, and a myriad of things, as you all know. We're heating things, we're cooling things, we're pitching yeast that produces CO2, we're moving liquid with CO2, or having to spend energy on pumps that are pumping things constantly. If any of you are on Spencer Grimm's presentation, he talked about what a big footprint the package itself has on when you're canning or bottling. Then you've got to keep it cool in refrigeration. You've got to ship a heavy product. You've got to use chemical, and often that chemical, along with yeast and hops, are going down the drain to be dealt with the municipality's water treatment plant. So just kind of every step of the way, we're using a ton of resources. And while there are a number of large craft brewers that are able to look at that and start combating that with maybe having someone on their team who is specifically focused on sustainability, it can be tricky for smaller craft breweries who are spinning a lot of plates and trying to do a lot of things on a shoestring budget to target these things. There's just so many things to think about first. But what was interesting, how many of you did anyone stop by the Pollution Prevention Institute at RIT booth upstairs? Yes, Tony has worked with them multiple times. They're a great resource. I believe these presentations go out, and I have a link to them on the resource page on the last page. But I asked them, like, what's your experience with, because they do all craft, they help out with analysis of all, figuring out sustainable projects for all of the craft beverages. And interestingly, they said there were two big differences between the wine and the beer community that I thought were both interesting and made sense. The first was that beer brewers were much more open to sharing information, whereas the wine industry tended to be a little more cagey about things. But the second was the ROIs that people were looking for. Well, he's like, I see more old money in the wine industry where they're able to put money into something, whereas a lot of the brewers are like, 1 year or less, please. So, and there definitely are those things that can show a return on investment really quickly. But if you're looking at like, how am I going to do these projects? There isn't the money for it. You're not alone. That's kind of a pattern they're seeing. And then as I've been attending these kind of talks throughout the past decade, I find that often it can be really, really broad because they're trying to speak to a wide range of folks, or it's something really, really specific where, it's like, awesome, Alaska Brewing has like a spent grain power boiler. Like, not a lot of us are gonna implement that. It is really cool, and then people in the questions will be like, they don't recycle cardboard in my town. Like, how do I do this? Right, the predicament being like, how do we start talking about this when we're in such different places with such limited amount of resources, but the need to use a lot of resources? So, as I mentioned earlier, I think the way to do that is to start this conversation and engage the community, talk to each other, have a space where we can be like, I have no time and no money, but I'm thinking about this thing. And also, like the beer drinkers, I think in a lot of the solid waste things, the things that are visible, including the beer drinker in on the conversation, and I'll get into kind of the specific ways you can do that, is really helpful. And also some of your beer drinkers are maybe a part of organizations that are have sustainable goals, and you can collaborate with them in that way. All right, so we're gonna try a Canva poll. If you scan the QR code, you have to move to this slide in there, and then the question is, does your brewery use the Brewers Association, the National Brewers Association Sustainability Dashboard? So, are there people here who don't know what the dashboard is? Okay, I got one person. So as an overview, it is a place where you enter your energy usage, your water usage, your solid waste, and your production, and then it gives you key performance indicators that are, let me see if I put an answer in there. Cool, okay, it's working. It will give you key performance indicators on, like, you use this many kilowatt hours per barrel brewed of bright beer produced. And then cool part is that it also can compare you to similar size breweries and breweries in your area who, so that you can are comparing apples to apples as much as possible. So I see a full range, so I'd like to ask some folks, so we have a yes regularly? All right, Tony, do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience with it, if you found things helpful?
Sure. Yeah, it's really just about data collection and understanding your utilities compared to your output, your barrelage output. So you submit it to the VA, and then that creates guidelines whether you're within the range that is appropriate for your size. And I think super valuable, but it does take a lot of work to put. You have to meter your water, you have to meter your waste, you have to know all the numbers that are there. And I've submitted for the last 4 years or so with the various breweries that I've worked at, and I think it's super valuable, and it gives information to the other people in your community.
Yeah, so thanks, Tony. If you are in the we've dabbled, nope, I don't know category, this is the place that this is definitely a first step. You can't make decisions about what you're gonna do and then see the impact that they have unless you have the data. Like a lot of what we do in the brewing industry, you need to know where you are and where you're trying to get. So the reason that the dashboard is helpful, like Tony mentioned, is that it does give you target for your size and location. So you can see I'm actually doing pretty well, or I'm not doing well. This is where I should focus. So it's a really easy. It's the first step, and then it's going to be the way that you figure out the next steps. For the person who said we track KPIs in another way, are you willing to chat? Yeah. Is it a spreadsheet, or what do you use?
It is a spreadsheet. We get reports through through the solar system that we use for kilowatt hours and CO2 reduction, as well as through our local water treatment for the brewery's water use, and then we go back and compare it. I know we have to other breweries are standard for amount of barrelage produced.
I see. So you still use that info from the Brewers Association, but it's just not tied in.
Seems like we could do it more efficiently based on what I'm hearing, but yeah.
Okay, cool. Is that, do you know what, if you don't use the dashboard because it's too clunky or anything? Okay.
That I don't.
Okay, interesting, okay. So yes, and then is there anyone in the we've dabbled category that has a I would do it, but this is why it was too challenging. This is why we don't do it regularly. Is it just a time thing? Anyone want to share from that pool? I mean, I get it. I used it a lot at Full Steam in North Carolina, and then they like changed it up, and I was like, oh, I gotta get used to this whole other format. Yeah, this is the place to start. This is the first step I would give anyone. Get your baseline data, so you, and then then when you make changes and you see improvements, it also feels really good. So. All right, second, if you go to the next slide, does your brewery have a green team that targets sustainability goals? All right, I'm seeing the majority no, but I do have an of course. Would you like to share who you are? Is it Tony? Oh. Oh, it went away. Okay. All right, green team no longer at that place. What about a sorta? Can someone tell me about their sorta situation?
It's not a team that's like specifically targeted towards sustainability, but again, we have just a part of like our executive team reviewing sustainability and utility usage and even like planning around like some of the planting that we have done.
Okay.
And working with local organizations to try to reach some of our sustainability goals. But it's not like a dedicated team. It just comes up in some of the other topics that we cover.
Gotcha. And so those goals were formulated by management, that group of people in management. Okay. So I put this as step 2, like once you know what the data is, and you're trying to figure out projects that you want to target, that you have a group of people who are excited about doing it. And I recommend, and this is again what we did when I was coordinating sustainability at Full Steam, getting people from all departments. Eyes back of house, I'm not gonna maybe even know of an issue that's happening in front of house that is creating a lot of waste, or I might propose a solution to that doesn't make sense with their flow of work. So if you have someone that's representing that group and be like, yeah, this is a problem, that solution won't work, but what if we tried this? And it's also just huge for buy-in. If you're one person who really cares about it, you can't be the person, you're not gonna sort through the whole dumpster. You gotta get like the whole culture and the whole system to be working sustainably. It's really hard to just be a one person, or even I don't know. Do you mind sharing and do you do any like staff training, or how does that get passed down from management to staff?
We do some staff training. We also try to get people to kind of volunteer with some of the efforts that we have. And like you were saying, trying to pick things that do impact both like front and back of house. Like we do have a composting program that we're involved in, trying to cut down on food waste. But it's separate sort of from like the solid waste removal that goes to like the local farm from the brewery. It's kind of
Yeah, no, that's great. So that is helpful too, like having everybody on the same page, making sure if you have a new protocol that you are saying like, this is how we're doing it now. Communication is always key, but getting engagement and having people share their ideas makes it all the more meaningful for them, and you get more people's ideas. So those are my top 2 takeaways of things to do are get the data and to have a group of folks who meet regularly to develop these goals from kind of a cross section of the departments in your establishment. All right, now we're on to the performance review a little bit of things that the industry does well. If you look at diversion rates, the industry does really well because most of us give our spent grain to local farmers or reuse in other small ways. Does anyone here send grain to landfill? Okay, I didn't think so. But yeah, you see usually like across the industry, like 94 to 98% of solid waste by weight is diverted simply because of this. Obviously, we have reusable packaging. I know folks don't use growlers anymore, but I still put it in there. And then for off-premise, using recyclable materials, obviously those are with asterisks. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then I just wanted to give a shout out to reuse of pallets because I see really creative reuse of pallets. This was what I worked on at Full Steam, is I broke down all these pallets and worked with a local reuse guy, woodworker, and then we worked with a local artist to do the signage. We were partnering with another local organization, Don't Waste Durham, and they were doing a program, Green to Go. They were reusable takeout containers, and we had a space where people could return them. So, yeah, you can do fun stuff too. And then, in terms of what we can improve upon, how many folks here side stream their waste? Put the yeast and okay. Presidency. So for folks that raised their hands, I guess it's over here. You raised your hand first. Was that built into how you've always operated, or something that you had to retrofit?
It's something that I brought with me from the previous brewery because we were on a farm before. So everything got side streamed. We couldn't put anything. We were on septic, like couldn't put anything down the drain pretty much.
Okay.
So it's just something I brought to this brewery. You know, we give all of our spent grain to a cannabis farm. Actually, they use it for compost.
Oh, nice.
It just makes sense for all the other stuff to go with it.
Okay, so you just put all yeast and hops.
Throw it in with the spent grain and send it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. What about other folks? Was it something you had to retrofit, or something that was built into the original construction of your brewery?
It was built in. So we got like a hot and cold side. Try not to mix them. And we have our own wastewater treatment plant just for the brewery itself, and MBR.
Oh, nice.
That we're kind of piloting. It's supposed to be plug and play, as they say, but we spent a lot of time in that room.
Okay.
So we will just process it.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Do our screw press. We'll take those solids, give it to the farmer for compost, mostly.
Okay. Nice. Either Prison City folk want to give a brief?
Yeah, we did it out of necessity because the surcharges from the city were astronomical, and it was cheaper for us to. We needed to do something about it, so it actually kind of goes back to what you were talking about, collecting the data. When we started collecting data on how much we're spending just putting Trube and everything down the drain, something needed to happen. And so then we were able to get a big tanker truck that basically takes the waste to a digester right down the road about 2 to 3 times a week. And it's a lot. It's still a lot of money, but it's cheaper than the surcharges.
Nice. Are there any folks that are having to deal with this now, like trying to troubleshoot wastewater, having issues with the municipality and getting heavy surcharges. Great. And then I feel like this could go on both sides of it, but composting organic materials. I feel like I see about 50-50. It can be, I guess let's do a show of hands. How many people compost at their facility? Okay. What is the for the other folks? Is there not composting in the area, or what do you see as like a block? Is it too expensive?
I guess for us, it's kind of like a mixed things. Like one, it's getting the team buy-in
Yeah.
entirely, where it's like, why would we separate it when we just throw it in the trash?
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, it's like the closest composter is pretty far away. It's about an hour drive or so.
Okay.
And so at that point, and like, we don't really have anywhere to keep it, so we can produce enough to make it worth it to drive it that far.
Right, and then it's yeah.
It's like, and then it becomes kind of an eyesore on the outside, which, you know, upper ownership would definitely have an opinion about.
And starts smelling in the hotter months. Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Okay. Yeah. So there are definitely a lot of barriers to it, depending on where you are. In Rochester, you know, we have someone who's able to come and pick it up. Yeah, and buy-in is definitely always part of it. And then, you know, obviously we're all going to keep packaging beer, but all of those, just keeping in mind the impacts of, you know, the mining of bauxite for aluminum, and obviously shipping glass has its own heavy footprint. Show you that again. And then, as I mentioned earlier, educating and involving the beer drinkers in the conversation. I think a lot of folks just don't know. They see like the recycling marketing of PackTech, of that it's made from recycled material, and they're like, cool, then I'll recycle it. It can't go into curbside recycling, but there are efforts to recycle it. When I reached out to PackTech, this is the map that they show of places that, the green are places that collect it, and then processors are the little triangles on the right. Obviously, the eastern part of the state is doing a lot more of this than over where we are, but then at the same time, just through putting together this presentation, I found out that Ontario County, right next to us in Monroe County, has their whole own system for collecting them at transfer stations and recycling them. But either way, letting your customers know, like, we collect them and reuse them if that's the case, or this is where they can be recycled if you have a recycling place near you. Is there anyone here who doesn't use PackTech? Yeah, so it's do folks here collect PackTech at their? Nice, and mostly reuse the PackTech?
Yeah, we're part of the Ontario County.
Oh, cool.
We're not in Ontario County, but we were first to sign up. We're on Seneca Lake, so we now have all of the Seneca Lake brewers involved as well.
Awesome.
So usually our brewery is kind of a center point for collection from the Ontario County collection points when they have a bag full. So it's easy enough to put somebody to sort them quickly and wash them if need be and sanitize them, because we have an industrial dishwasher.
Okay.
And then we have monthly meetings, and we just bring them to the monthly meetings, and if anybody that wants them can take them.
Cool.
Ultimately, if I have some for too long, then I'm gonna have to take them for recycling because I probably won't use them. But I can tell you, I won't have to buy black probably for 2 years.
Which is, a cost saving for sure. Do you feel like beer drinkers in your area, or through this start, this is a pretty recent start of this
We
program?
started it probably last spring.
Last spring.
There's a gentleman, his name is Ben, I can't remember his last name, from Vermont or New Hampshire that started it there. So Vermont, New Hampshire, maybe Maine, and Massachusetts all signed on. And then Ontario County found out about it, so they brought him out here to help us get started.
Okay.
So they supported us with the cost of the signage to put on a little bin, and basically the bins are like old fruit crates. And they gave those to all the brewers that want to participate and for collection. So your patrons can just bring them in. We have ours right by our front door, and probably like every 2 days I have to go grab some out and take them away because it's getting overfull.
Okay. And then like messaging to customers, has it kind of been on social media, or like the visual of having it there?
Yeah, and then I try, I'm not religious about it, but I try to like at least hit it once a month again with the same signage and just reminding people that while they say they're recyclable, they get looked at as paper in the automated sorting process, and so they go right into landfill.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, if you are on that email list, maybe you can send that contact information of the guy who's
Yeah, absolutely.
started you all, and anybody could bring it into your brewery, but then there are transfer stations where you'd have to be a resident of that town, I assume.
Say that again?
For all of these collection sites, some of them are breweries, and then some of them are like Victor transfer station or something where you'd have to be a resident of that town.
Yeah, I
Okay.
suppose if you're bringing it to Victor, maybe you just have to be a county, I don't know. So,
Okay.
because it's Ontario County Waste, it's the ones that they teamed up with to sell out. And they were just gonna do Ontario breweries, but again, we're in the city of Geneva technically by zip code.
Gotcha.
But when they came to talk to me, I said, we've got 22 other breweries around this lake that would be happy to be part of it. So that just extended to Ontario County right down the lake into 4 more counties basically.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I feel like that's a really good example of just like working together with the community to come up with, maybe not come up with a solution and a way to reuse it.
Yeah, I think if you guys want to try to start something in Rural County and you want to talk to the person at Ontario County Waste, I'd be happy to connect you with it.
Awesome. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. And then another kind of customer awareness thing is just the impact of the sleeves or labels that are on so many of our cans. I've just got an eddy current looping here because I think it's cool. But it obviously makes it harder to sort when there is a larger portion of that, and then once it is all in the aluminum in there, it gums up the system and makes recycling the aluminum more difficult. So I know there were at least 2, maybe 3 folks upstairs who were talking about doing digital inkjet printing on smaller amounts that most of us are using in terms of cans. Has anyone here had an experience with going from doing labels and sleeves to inkjet printing or just inkjet printing, digital inkjet printing in general? Okay. Something to think about. Yeah.
So I just want to make a comment. So I'm on the sustainability committee on the Brewer Association, and I don't know if people know this, but the shrink wrap ones are really bad for incinerators. They actually cause incinerator fires. So the further we can move away from those, would be better. I don't know if ink is better, but paper labels are the best, supposedly, without foil backings and things like that. I know we all want to make our cans stand out on the shelf, so we try to do the things we can do, but from my understanding, right now, the worst for the recycling process incineration is the sleeve ones, the shrink wraps.
The sleeve is the worst option. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. On our cans, we have like a peel to recycle. Obviously, it's an extra step that not not a lot of folks are going to take, but if you at least if people know that that's the worst option, then you can make decisions accordingly. If you want to start, if labeling is maybe a better option, and then folks who are like, oh, I didn't even know that it was causing a problem, and I will take it off. Every little bit helps. And then looking at malt bags. This is another North Carolina based company. I think they were just sold to Shore Supply. But another way to kind of show beer drinkers that you care about reusing things, and obviously for a lot of us, malt bags can take up a lot of space in the dumpster. Has anyone worked with like beer to bags or done any upcycling? Cool, just something cool to think about. I feel like this is another example, like, what was your name? Like Ken brought up of brewers in the of an area coming together. This is in the Pacific Northwest. Christian Ettinger, who's also, I believe, a co-chair now of the Sustainability Committee on the national level, partnered with Country Malt and Great Western Malting and Vancouver Plastics, and they are now recycling bags as well. So just another way of like coming together and figuring out a system. Can do that just as a community. Dipping into energy a little bit, things that I think the industry does well. At this point, I think most of us have LED lighting. If you don't, there are often programs with your energy provider to get LED lighting. To make that a quicker return on investment, because you're using less energy and it's subsidized. I think we're good at having SOPs that minimize the amount of time that you're running the pumps, heating up water during knockout, and using programmable thermostats. A lot of the this is obviously a big area, the energy area, but ways that I think that you can improve are looking at the efficiency of your equipment if you're buying new equipment, and then if it's older equipment that you're maintaining it and looking for leaks and things like that. And then having shade condensers for condensers like that are on the roof, and I just put up white and green roof because I think that that's a long-term goal of our Strangebird is to have a garden up there, and I think that's a great way to get the community involved. You can work with gardening groups, and you could have a gardening club, just bring people to your brewery and make it, that's kind of part of the marketing, is that people are like, oh, yeah, they like grow stuff on their roof, and they have a day every month where people come and do that, and they work with this organization. So involving the community makes people come to your brewery and notice that you do sustainability. So if they're support places that do more sustainable things, they'll come drink your beer. And this is an older, but what is still in the most recent thing I can find is from the Brewers Association's Sustainability Energy Manual. If you aren't entering like your own data, and if you were at Spencer's talk earlier, he also had some graphs that you can see where larger portion, this may not be your brewery, but if you're looking to cut, finding the things that use the most energy, and that might be the easiest place to start as well. All right, water and wastewater. Like I mentioned before, the BA has a lot of resources, I should say, that many of you may be familiar with. They do have like a water risk calculator and things. I think we're pretty fortunate at this point in New York that we don't have to worry about it as much. But things we do well, recovering water from knockout, and in my experience, when we improve being water conscious in your SOPs, obviously we need to keep quality, but if you can measure conductivity and stop rinsing when you've reached a data point rather than saying a certain amount of time or volume. Wastewater wise, I think the biggest thing is the side streaming that we already talked about. And in that vein, just communicating with your municipality, if you're having to dump a batch, or I think being proactive and talking to them before is helpful. I know we don't want to like poke the bear, but I think having that dialogue has proven to be helpful for a lot of people, so that they're not starting to get hit with fines or being told like, oh, now you have to do this. Letting them know like, I know we put a lot of stuff down the drain. Is that how can we work with you on that? Or we're about to put a lot of lower pH down the drain. Do people here have a relationship with their water municipality? No. Tony, okay. Anybody else? Ken, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're just down the road from the water treatment plant, or the town of Waterloo, so they come to our building once a month and test the water to make sure that their equipment is working correctly.
Okay. Like in a wastewater tank you're talking about?
Sorry, this is fresh water coming in, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it comes right out of the lake.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Cool. Yes, Spencer.
One thing I wanted to add about hot water usage is that a lot of the carbon footprint of the water is that it's actually boiled, a lot of energy there. And breweries often have an opportunity to not be diluting with HLT water, but to instead dilute cold. This like processes it. But sometimes people add a 3-barrel dilution to every turn that could be cold, and they could save 3 barrels of HLT water every single turn. So mitigation to consider if that's a possibility.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
So you're saying like when you're basically topping up the brew?
Yeah, after you have 18-barrel boil that's maxed out, but you want to knock out 21 barrels. And brewers often dilute HLT and then immediately cool it. So they use energy to both heat it and cool it.
Right. Yeah. Good point. All right. Obviously, there are a lot more. There is like sourcing sustainably, like getting things more locally. There is shipping and looking at your vehicles. It's a very big topic, like I said in the beginning. Can be too broad or too narrow, so I just hit on some of the key performance indicators that you'd be looking at if you start collecting data. And then, if you want to start moving toward collecting more nuanced data. But that's where I felt like you'd be starting. You'd be looking at those, at energy, water, which are the easiest because you can take your bill. You may, if you have like a kitchen as well, you may, they may be on the same meter, so that can be tricky. Generally with water, you can assume that the lion's share is the brewery. And then the solid waste, which can be tricky to weigh. unless the waste provider will do it for you. But like I said, you can use the volume, and if your malt bags are all of a sudden being diverted to a recycle or an upcycling situation, then you might not have to have it emptied as much, or something like that. So with that, I'm going to briefly kind of dive into then the marketing portion of it, which I'm by no means a marketing professional, but I think we can look at the marketing portion of things as taking what we already do and just looking at it through a sustainability lens. So, for example, we are all on social media, and this, it's second nature to us that we're giving all of our spent grain to farmers, but the public may not know that. So just taking some pictures and showing, letting people know this is one of the things that we do. Just maybe having that be on the schedule, however often makes sense for your brewery, every once a week, once every other week. Doing collaborations, that's something we're all really familiar with doing. And you can work with local sustainable organizations and businesses to highlight their work and to show that you care about it. This Full Steam did this collaboration with the Triangle Land Conservancy that does a lot of waterways and has a bunch of preservations. And so I think $1 per pint or some percentage of sales also went toward to the Triangle Land Conservancy, but it also highlighted the work that they do. I believe they foraged some stuff off of the properties as well, so you can get folks in, beer drinkers in, who are interested in that lens of things and go foraging with you. It's just a way to make it interaction, and again, it's something that we already do commonly with other brewers, but you can just kind of angle it towards sustainability. Does anyone have collaborations they've done with a local? Cool. I don't know where that picture went. All right, well, events. Like I was talking about earlier, if you are doing more of the sustainable stuff, there are going to be sustainable entities that may want to hold events at your brewery, or also you can have events that like that rooftop garden situation where people feel invested in it, and as you're trying to make it happen, can even fundraise with the beer to be like, this is going toward our rooftop garden. Again, I'm sure many hold events, and then just being like, how can we angle this in a sustainable way? And be excited about it. It doesn't have to be all, just data and I have to do this. As I said, the idea of a rooftop garden is very exciting to me. Those are the beehives that we have up there on our roof. They're about to be up there again, so it was cool to have that honey and use it in our beer, and so that was exciting. Looking at solar, I know that Green Spark, I don't think they're here, but they're a New York-based company that and they did a talk, I want to say a month ago or so. So I have a link to their information as well. But again, something, and I know solar was mentioned over here. You can have ways of showing the public how much that's producing. So yeah, there are a lot of options in that realm as well. All right, and then links and If you just can't get enough of surveys, you can scan this. This is a survey I developed a few years ago, and as I try to figure out how to communicate about this and start this conversation, if you're willing to fill it out, just about your brewery's current practices, I would greatly appreciate it. All right, thank you all for coming. Wherever the sign-up sheet is, I will grab that. I'll come. Do people have questions or things they want to bring up to this group of other sustainability-minded folks? Yes, Tony.
Are there options besides PackTex that you would maybe recommend or that you've explored?
I know folks are using, Rick, you had mentioned one that it's compostable, right?
Yeah, so a lot of them aren't like regularly compostable because they have like some sort of paint or coating on them like paper plate. But I know that there's one company that originally came out of Florida that was making them out of actually spent green. And so there are some options that are fully compostable, but they never have, like you always have to upgrade some other point in your packaging, so they never have the same rigidity as like PackTex. So you have to account for that in like the wholesale distribution and things like that. And so there's always the option if you're gonna go that route if you really want, because in the end you might be able to find like a box, like a 4-pack box or a 6-pack box, it's more recyclable. And so I've been on that, like when I worked at Denver Beer Company, we were entirely boxed, or we were entirely recyclable and sustainable focused. But then, you know, it's easier for like the smaller breweries like we were as we moved up to like the procure PackTex, because the price of PackTex is usually about half as much as the print box, especially with minimal order quantities and things. And so, you know, the ones that are available now, I know there's a lot more places that are kind of going more towards the material, the fiberboard, say like drink carrier from Dunkin' Donuts is made of,
Yeah.
those sorts of things. But really, you know, you gotta weigh all of it. And so I know there are some compostable options and some options that are like semi-compostable, like commercially compostable, they call it, or like, you know, fully cardboard recyclable. And so really it's like availability, price, and what works best for what you're going for. So.
And like a cardboard recyclable ring would require an applicator though, correct?
So that's kind of the tricky part, is I'm not entirely sure, like I think they would be the roll applicators, but I know that they sell them just as singles. Like you go up to Lindenmeyer and Rose table, you can see that they, you know, recently, ever since the threat of the PackTex bill in New York, they started rolling out more of those. And so I'm not entirely sure because they don't tell you how to have to apply them. They just are like, here it is. And so you might have to like put it on by hand because your traditional PackTex applicator is not designed for things that soft. So
These are my PackTex.
so Amanda is PackTex applicator. You know, things like that, and that's the other part is now you have to weigh labor in the equation for hand application and PackTex, especially the cardboard ones. Then you have to waste because they're not as rigid. You're right, though.
So on the state level, we have had discussions with PackTech. You know, I don't think this bill is going to pass this year to ban PackTex in New York State, but it's going to keep getting brought up, and it'll probably keep steam will be building, and they'll have some momentum going, and at some point, we're probably going to have to, you know, switch. And I think we are hopeful that PackTech will come up with a alternative and something that is more sustainable that will also work in their systems, which is really, I think, the best case. You know, would love competition in this sector for sure, but we're all so kind of built around this product that it would just be great. And they have a huge interest in taking this step towards sustainability too. So, yeah, it's not gonna happen tomorrow, but I don't think the ban's gonna come tomorrow either. So.
Is the wording of the bill just like all plastic, or is it? It's not PackTech specific, but it's no plastic for 6-pack carrier.
Yeah, it is a plastic. It like the whole there's like it's not just PackTex, but this is just like kind of the easiest thing for them to pick out because the public engages with it so much. So yes, plastic carriers. To be honest, I don't know exactly what, much more detail.
It's covered by the bottle, bill. Can't be in like a plastic container or something like that. It's
Okay.
specific to the bottle bill add-on, is what I understand of it. Part of like the extended producer responsibility, EPR stuff. And so that's kind of what I think it ties into. They're like, well, there's a problem with the cans and they're fully recyclable, so what do you do about the plastics? But
Let's hold them together, yeah.
This bill, God, man, yeah, we are. It's been a main focus and taken up a lot of time of our lobbyists. But I think we're pretty well positioned right now to kind of put it off for at least a year, hopefully a couple of years, until really there are more solutions out there that work for everybody, including the public who wants a reliable carrier to carry their beer in. Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
Yeah, I have a question in regards to recycling, just general stuff.
Yeah.
Your plastics, your glassware, that type of thing that you may have. Our local carrier, our
Okay.
beverage carrier, doesn't have that for our type of business. They just have us recycling cardboard and garbage, right? That's what we get.
Okay.
We've asked multiple times, and there's just nothing they're giving us. So we would really have to load it more on private vehicles to recycle it.
Okay.
What does everyone else do to kind of help with that? I mean, wine bottles after a weekend, I could have 10 of a case at times.
So there is like a transfer station, but you'd have to like get it there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that, we in Rochester do have like a single stream recycling. Is there anyone who deals with that, not having anything beyond cardboard recycling at their?
I take it all myself,
Okay.
transfer station, like it's because it's prohibitively expensive.
Yeah. Well, to do it through our, no, we have to get paid for, waste removal,
Right.
through our trash.
So it would be
It
like,
makes more sense for us to throw it back in our back.
We're tiny.
so it's like a weekly thing you have to do, or? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it looks like, were you able to hear that answer?
But she's doing it on her own.
Yeah,
we're
white.
doing the same things.
Is there, okay,
Yeah, it's a good one. If you think about it, if you put it out back, storage for us is gonna be an issue. And then we worry about bees and that all outside, right? So,
Right.
to rinse every one of those bottles and go, hey, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do, and that's something I want to do. I want to put something in place. So we're gonna put loading into my vehicle and put it in my own recycling bin at home.
right, yeah, but it's frustrating that you have to do that. Yeah, I would think it would be on a countywide level. Is it something they did and stopped doing? Or never have done?
Never know.
Okay. What were you gonna say?
What amazes me is that we're surrounded by restaurants where we are, and you can hear all the glass going out to the trash every time.
Oh my
No one's
gosh.
recycling
Yeah,
anything, it's
nobody-
all throwing it out in the trash.
And I just can't.
You're like, I don't wanna hear it.
Yeah, I do it myself.
Interesting. Does that conversation come up with neighbors ever? And they were like they would probably do it if they could put it in just out in their dumpster. No?
Good question. I'll start a conversation.
Okay, awesome. Love to hear it.
So where we're at in Minneapolis, we have to pay for a private dumpster company to come in, and we have a separate cardboard, glass, some plastics. But I mean, we pay for that monthly.
Yeah.
So that's just what we do. We get in trouble if we take it to our transfer station. We get in trouble for it because they monitor all the stuff. So as a business,
As a business,
we have to
okay.
pay extra to dump there. We just pay for dumpster instead. But we do have to pay for dumpster to do that.
And that was your option, but it's like prohibitively expensive.
It's ridiculously expensive.
It is.
We have other tenants in our building as well, so that helps. with
To
those.
disperse the cost of that, okay. And for the person who originally asked the question, is paying for a service even an option or no? Okay. All right. I think we're at time, but if anyone else wants to come up and chat sustainability, feel free.